Hello and welcome to Artwork, a conversation with creative people about the joys, the challenges and the mundane moments of living an artistic life. We're your hosts, I am Poppy Rose.
And I'm Bree Robertson.
And our artist today is Oh Papa, a Sheffield-based four-piece band. Bree and I played a So Far Sounds concert in Leeds back in 2019 alongside Oh Papa, and it was so nice to catch up with them today.
Jack, Rick, Felix and Phil are the musicians that make up Oh Papa, which blends facets of Americana, soft rock, subtle surf and indie. They draw huge inspiration from the sounds and sensibilities of 60s and 70s Laurel Canyon singer-songwriters.
Striving to change the perception of what it means to be an indie band from Yorkshire and to dispel the toxic masculinity that has been prevalent in the indie rock scene, the members of Oh Papa actively take steps to challenge the culture they see around them.
In this episode, we talked with lead singer Jack and drummer Felix about finding a balanced dynamic within a group creative project, addressing inclusivity within the music industry, dismantling ideas of toxicity and competition, and the importance of looking after your mental health when we are so often told to work harder.
The pair also give us a glimpse into the hilarious world of Oh Papa, including their 3 WhatsApp groups for positive, negative, and business talk. It's a great episode with lots of inspiring insights from 2 seasoned musicians.
Let's dive in.
Welcome, guys. It's so nice to have you here on the podcast today. The wonderful band Oh Papa. We've got Felix and Jack on the line. Do you want to introduce yourselves? Say your name, what you do in the band, a little bit about you so that the listener can hear your voice to the name, and it will all make sense when there's 4 of us in this podcast today.
Go on, Felix, you go first.
Oh, really? I was going to be totally silent and let you go first because I thought you'd be so eager to jump in.
No, come on.
Hi, I'm Jack and I'm the lead singer.
Oh, well, you just ruined my introduction now.
Now we're all confused.
Oh, I thought we were going to change introductions just to screw over the listener.
Felix, just say what you do. I know you want to be the lead singer, but you're not, and you got to face up to that fact.
Hi, I'm Felix and I'm the drummer of Oh Papa.
Hi, I'm Jack and I'm also the drummer of I'm the lead singer of Oh Papa. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us, yeah. I was going to say that before, Jack.
It's honestly such a pleasure because we met you guys at the So Far Sounds back in Leeds back in 2019.
Yes.
And honestly, since then, guys, I'm such a fan of your music. It's on my sunny afternoon on the balcony playlist. And as soon as the sun comes out, I'm like, right, it's time for Oh Papa. Let's feel chill. Let's enjoy the sun and just enjoy the music. So I'm very excited to dive right in.
Oh, thank you.
And that was such a nice night. Can we just reminisce on like how nice it was to play a So Far Sounds in like that warehouse in Leeds together?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was a brewery, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
so
true.
much nice beer.
Oh yeah, the beer was great. Was it North Brewing?
I think North Brewing Co. I think really good.
When we are all able to travel, it would be nice to have a little reunion gig one day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Find a brewery.
Yeah.
Play some music. Oh my gosh.
Find a brewery, most importantly. That's the most important.
Exactly.
How do you find the pronunciation of brewery? Because I really struggle with it.
I found that very difficult.
Very hard.
Say it, Felix, because you say it real weird.
Brewery. I just kind of skip out the middle bit.
How many syllables is in it? Is it brewery?
Oh,
brewery. Brewery.
So the first question I have is, you're called Oh Papa. Where did that name come from?
I seem to recall Felix having a on like your notes on your phone. He'd have like 30 names, and he'd always be topping them up because we used to be called Dobra, which I don't know. It came because I went to Croatia and everybody said it, and it's really, I think it just means good or like hi, and then we were called that for a bit until all of our streams were going to this Croatian DJ under the same name, DJ Dobra. Shout out if you're listening, you owe us at least 50 quid.
That's true, actually.
But yeah, so Felix just had like, I think even while we were called Dobra, he always wanted to change it, and he had this.
Yeah, I never liked the name.
Huge. So I think among this list, I think was Oh Papa, and then there were some other great ones. I think my favorite one was Scrambled Legs.
Scrambled Legs, that was there.
That was a good one. What are the other ones for you? Sofa Sloth.
Sofa Sloth was there. Mint Machine.
A lot of alliteration.
Yeah, you love alliteration. But
love alliteration.
But Oh Papa just, I think that was the one that resonated. And I don't know, I like it. It's become sort of, it sort of informed the theme of our music a little bit, because a lot of it's to do with family and papas.
Yeah, it's true. I think it came mainly from, I think it probably was on the list, but I remember the famous list. Like, we were discussing what band names to have on our like WhatsApp chat, and I put Honey Inc.
Oh, I hated that one.
Which is awful.
I'm not a fan, yeah. I'm glad you didn't choose that.
That sounds horrendous.
Honey Inc., like Monsters Inc.
Yeah, exactly, like Incorporated. That's the best part of it.
To me, Honey Inc. sounds like a really dodgy tattoo parlour.
Yeah, it sounds like a tattoo parlour for sure. Or like someone's kind of startup brand of clothing that's really bad. To me, that's what it says. But my first band when I was 15 was called Ish Brother.
Oh,
and I came up with that name.
Ish Brother, Jesus.
And I came up with that name. So I think there was... I seem to remember laying on my bed in my mom's house and thinking that I liked the name Ish Brother. I liked how there was like the word brother in there. I don't know why. And then I was thinking of names that, like family members' names that would also sound cool in a name, like Auntie or Papa. And then just Oh Papa just came from my really clever genius brain, basically.
So how did you guys meet? There's 4 of you in the band, right? Can maybe just give us a little breakdown of who's in the band and maybe how you started playing together?
Well, I met the guitarist Rick. I think we were about halfway through our respective university courses. And when we were back in Sheffield over the summer, we met. And I never liked the guy, because we went. I've known him for years, and we went to school together. And he bullied me at school.
Wow.
He spread a rumor about me that was never confirmed, that he once saw me bend over and I was wearing a thong, and therefore my nickname was Thong Boy.
Which now doesn't sound that bad, but at school that is absolutely...
That should have been the band name.
Career destroying.
But anyway, we met and we had a mutual sort of love for very similar music, and we chatted a lot about that. And then we just started playing music together. And then, after we did a couple of demos and stuff like that, we needed a drummer. So our old music teacher recommended this young firecracker by the name of Felix, who apparently was just blowing everybody out of the water. And so we gave Felix a ring, and he came down, and then we played through some songs. I think that same day, didn't we do an open mic that like exactly the day we met you?
Yeah. We did an open mic the same night.
That was wicked. That was really good.
I showed up and they gave me like a demo CD to listen to, so I went home and listened to that, and then they were like, "Oh, come back in a couple of hours. We're going to do the open mic night." So I had 2 hours to learn 3 tracks. I think we did.
God, we were asking so much of you from day one. Yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, we were straight in, and then we had these songs, and then we were like, "Oh, let's record them." And then we went to a studio to record them with a guy called Martin Smith. Didn't you record with Ish Brother there, and that's why we went there?
No, I recorded with Honey Inc. there. Yeah, I recorded with Ish Brother there. Yeah.
I'm so disappointed that you are going to continue to use Honey Inc. throughout this podcast.
To find my own clothing brand.
Oh, was that your plan all along? You sly dog.
Plug in my new clothing brand coming out 23rd of October 2022.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's amazing.
Anyway, so Felix recorded with Honey Inc., or whoever he recorded with, and recommended Martin, and we went with Martin, and we didn't have a bass player. So I think Martin had to play bass. And then he was
we
like,
went as like little kids to his studio to record, and then was just like, oh, by the way, we don't have a bassist. Could you play bass?
anyway, and then he was like, oh, I'm sure you realise this, but we don't have a bassist. I've had this guy in who has just come back from London, and he's just, he was like doing some session work, I think. And that's how we met Phil, the bassist, who is probably one of the most talented musicians I've ever met. No offense, Felix. That's Papa, that's it. So just sort of happenstance, really. But yeah, it's a bit, and we've never looked back, have we, Felix?
No, that's true. Only a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's just personal. Yeah, I think I was 17. I think I was 17 or 18. No, I would have been 18. I was working in like a curry tent in Chatsworth when they texted me.
I can just imagine you taking off your apron and being like, I quit.
Yeah.
He actually came with ladles for drumsticks.
So we're getting a little hint of like band dynamics right now, which is amazing. Like a lot of jesting, a lot of jokes. I've only ever like collaborated with people one-on-one, or I did a bit of music with my brother and sister a long time ago. But I'm really interested in knowing, like, what is it like to have 4 people invested in a creative project? How do you guys manage like all your different creative needs and visions, and have you had to kind of allocate roles to each other, or does it kind of just flow organically?
Well, I think it just has to be natural. I think the best thing about this band, and and it's always been the case, is there's no egos, and I think that's why we stayed together for so long. So I don't think everybody's sort of creative input or suggestion nothing's ever off sort of limits. Like, we'll try. There's no, there's not like a final destination where we're like, we have to get here, or one of us is like, this is where we have to be. It's like we'll get to our destination eventually, and we'll get there like together with all of our various wacky ideas. So yeah, I think that's the most sort of important part of a band is to sort of set aside individual ego. Yeah, and I think that's just it makes for a really nice sort of working environment and creative environment. Well, I don't know. What do you think, Felix? You might say the opposite.
I totally agree, to be honest. I was just going to say, I think it's even down to like when Jack brings like a song to the studio and stuff, and we will like practice it and go over it and like try and work on it and stuff and change certain sections. Like everyone's idea gets tried, even if maybe you might think not too sure if that's going to work. It always ends up getting like everyone gets listened to, and everyone's idea, we're like, all right, we'll start from the beginning, try it Rick's way, he's the guitarist, or try it Phil's way, or with Felix's thing in, or with Jack's thing in, blah blah blah. So I think it's like that instead of, because I feel like that definitely brings the fact that there's no egos in it, because if there was, then maybe someone might, or some sort of leader might be like, oh no, we're not trying it that way, we're going to try it this way, and nobody's ideas gets listened to.
I think if you work like that, you just limit what what a thing could be. Like, you limit developing ideas if you have a sort of tunnel vision of how you want it to be. I think we just like to have a ballpark and then try and get into that ballpark. But often we won't even make it into the ballpark. Often we'll be playing a different sport.
Wrong podcast, Jack.
Wait, is this not like, what's that thing? Barstool Sports?
No, that one's at 1:00.
Did you see the match last night?
The Champions League
absolutely ludicrous display.
I was going to say, did you see that ludicrous display last night?
Oh, I'm so sorry I ruined your joke because I was so excited to talk about the Champions League.
Read the signs, Felix. Read
No,
the
I'm so
signs.
sorry you were doing a joke. I ruined it.
Oh, with the Champions League match? Shut up, Felix. What are you talking about?
It wasn't pretty amazing.
That's the first time that our podcast has been derailed into a sports.
Oh God, we don't want to be that people.
I feel lame because I'm wearing a football. I'm wearing like a Euros 2002 or 2004, whatever year the Euros are.
I view you as my necessary evil, and you could buy the soul from the devil, and I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. I've got no reasons to believe, so wrap me around any little finger that you please, and I wouldn't mind. You're keeping tabs on history like it's anything that'll make you free. Well, oh no, does that offend you?
Like you say, you listen to everyone's decisions and ideas when it comes to, creating the songs and crafting the songs. Has there ever been like a song or a situation where you've like majorly disagreed, or have you kind of always said you have this ballpark idea of where you want the song to go?
Sorry, Poppy. I hope that you don't think we're being rude. The reason me and Jack were laughing then is because there is a lot of confrontation, but it's not like aggressive confrontation. I just think we all have quite similar humour, so we can be quite aggressive, but it's always quite comedic. But I think
is like the best way to describe how we deal with conflict is we have 3 separate WhatsApp groups. Okay, so the first one is like the main one called Opapa. That's the title, and that's where we do business, do whatever sort of band things you need to do. Then we have a Love Lane WhatsApp, Opapa Love Lane. What Love Lane is when it's for compliments only. It's for positive energy.
Positive energy.
So if I wanted to say to Felix, "Wow, that drum fill you did in verse 2 of this track is out of this world. Well done. You're amazing. I love you." But then the other chat is called White Hot Papa or White Hot Opapa or whatever it is, and that is reserved for just unadulterated
negative energy
wow.
only.
Yeah. I kind of love that.
For example, I was scrolling through it during lockdown because it really makes me laugh. The angry one, and it's stuff like Felix, get on the merch stand immediately, or I'll I don't know, break your legs or something. I don't know, depending on the threat sort of changes. But it's just funny stuff like that. But I think in terms of writing, we don't conflict when we write.
No, totally not. Does that make sense?
Completely
totally
incomplete.
Not.
I love things like that. When you say like stuff like completely empty, it's like, how is it complete if it's empty?
Oh, he's the wordsmith.
There's a song in that.
Where's my notepad?
You know what? That totally triggered me then, Brie, because my stepdad, ever since, like, obviously, like, knowing that I'm in a band and stuff, like, we get on loads, but he, like, as like a bonding thing, he always, like, tries to speak to me about music and stuff. And everything, he's always like, there's a song in that, Fizz. There's a song in that. And it can be, like, the most random thing. Like, my mom will, like, come in. Like, if I go up to visit, she'll, like, come in, put the shopping down and be like, "Oh, I left the cheese in the car." And he'll look at me like that and be like, "There's a song in that." First of all, I'm a drummer, so I'm not going to do just an instrumental album about my mum leaving cheese in the boot of the car.
I feel like you should, actually.
Sounds like Pink Floyd sort of territory.
Yeah, no, do that. But yeah, second of all, I'm not going to write an album about cheese.
You say in your bio, and obviously from listening to your music, that you're really inspired by the musicians of Laurel Canyon from the 60s and 70s. Is that Like, is that music that all four of you are passionate about emulating, or how do you kind of draw inspiration from music from the past as four people? Are you all kind of on the same track of the type of music that you want to be
I
making?
don't know, like this, like people that we really admire and that we all really admire. We all like Laurel Canyon, and we all like the sounds of that. The sort of, and I think we all like the idea of putting something where it's not, as in like we say, being a band from Yorkshire. Like, how do we translate that into something a bit different that we don't hear coming out of Sheffield or Yorkshire? How do you we've not really had many artists that can put themselves into that category.
I feel like the connection with Laurel Canyon might also be the fact that how there was obviously folk music played such a big role in like the Laurel Canyon type of music, but also that wasn't the main genre of music that was being played. And I think that might come across with maybe El Papa, that we're not necessarily a folk band, but there's definitely undertones or influences of folk. That's where, for me, I totally agree with the Laurel Canyon thing.
I'm just fascinated because at the moment I'm collaborating with a guy, and it's amazing how like two people, when you're working on a project, it can just flow somehow, and it's like, wow, I can't believe we agree on this, or I can't believe our voices are just finding this without talking about it. Like it is amazing how the creative process can be like so organic and just like beyond our brains. But I wondered if there are like, as a band, are there themes that you find yourself repeating when you're writing songs, and themes that you're passionate about sharing through your music? Or could it just be anything, any idea that kind of comes to the songwriter's mind?
It can be anything. I think like sort of, I know lyrically, I'll go through phases of just different sort of, I think like recently, for example, I've been writing about my dreams to varying outcomes, and I don't know. I think I've always liked simplicity in sort of. I like the idea that a song doesn't have to have a message; it can just evoke, a feeling or a. I don't have to be talking about. I don't know what's going on. I can just see something and say what it is. Observational songwriting, I would say. But yeah, just write about whatever you want to write about. I think sometimes having a message, when you like being like, oh, I'm going to write a song about this, then I don't know. I don't like to write like that. I think it's better to not know what you're writing about and just start it with like anything. Do you know what I mean? Just start it and see, and that's like I find that really therapeutic as well, because you're like, oh, I feel like this, and I didn't think I felt like that or knew I felt like that, but this is clear what I think, because it's just sort of come out on a page.
And I have to say, I think some of your lyrics, like you say, you're not writing with this intention to like, have a big message be delivered in a 3-minute song, but then when you're listening to it and there's like some really just like funny lines, and you're like, did he really just say that he's gonna eat some veggies and rice in a song? And it just catches you off guard, and you're just, for me, that's just makes me love it even more, because it's like, I have never heard that in a song ever. Like who could have thought that could have sounded good in a song? And it definitely gives you a little USP there. I enjoy that as a listener.
Well, there you go, observational songwriting. Yeah. I was literally about to eat a bowl of hot veggies and rice.
I love it. And then it got me, I was like, oh man, that actually sounds really good. And then I made some veggies and rice later that day.
We wanted to talk to you guys about something that you shared with us in an email. You wrote that you want to change the perception of what it means to be an indie band from Yorkshire. So I'm not from Yorkshire, and Yorkshire.
Are you not?
I'm not from Yorkshire.
No way.
So I have no idea really what that means. What is a typical band that's coming out of Yorkshire, and why are you wanting to change the perception of what music is coming out of that part of the world?
I'll take it from that. I'm going to end up offending so many people and so many different
Well, you
bands.
don't. I mean, you don't need to.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to name drop. I've got lists and lists. Page 1. No, I think. So I think maybe the I think maybe the kind of stereotypical band from Yorkshire was maybe the themes in the songwriting and in like the music itself as well, and in like the recordings were just all very similar. Not that they were bad. I personally love a lot of Yorkshire bands, but I think a lot of them had similar themes, like going out to town and getting drunk and trying to find women and things like that, and had a very stereotypical song structure with kind of like fast-paced drums, doing 16th on the hi-hat in the chorus.
Throwing in some technicality.
You're just nodding along like, yeah.
Just hitting the hi-hat fast. Is it?
Hitting the hi-hat fast, basically, is what it is, with both hands.
What? No sticks?
Both hands, no sticks. And you have to wear nothing but your socks. That's how you get the perfect sound.
Yeah, the resonance off the...
Yeah, it's something that... I'm going to get on a super tangent here. It's not even going to be funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to name drop that technical drum term. Do you know the question before when you said there's no egos in the band?
It's all coming out.
So yeah, there was just themes of... that were just the same in Yorkshire music that I think we wanted. We didn't really feel that we were part of that scene or that we kind of like wanted to follow. I think that scene, obviously we can talk about like toxic masculinity for hours and hours and hours, and I'm sure that like obviously it's an important topic to talk about. But I feel like there's definitely some of that came across in the traditional Yorkshire music about going out and getting hammered with your male friends and doing all this, blah, blah, and fighting and stuff. But I personally never had a fight in my life. I had a fight once at the Washington pub in Sheffield and someone stole my beret.
That wasn't a fight. You jumped on somebody's back.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't feel comfortable about singing about going out and fighting, because that's what I call a fight.
Yeah, I think as well. It's it was so obviously completely male dominated, this scene. So you only get sort of one sort of aspect or one sort of message, and they all had the same sort of thing. I think one thing that's important for us is to collaborate as much as we can with other artists, just to and not to have the same sort of to sort of explore masculinity in a different way in our songwriting. You know, I think a lot of what our songs are about you know, not being, or like being vulnerable is I think a common theme in our songwriting. Which I think resonates with a lot more people than, I hope resonates with a lot more people than, you know, going to a bar and trying to, I don't know, singing about, I don't know, there's something that just never sat quite right with me about that sort of music. But that's just me. Everybody's absolutely entitled, but I don't think any of us felt that we sort of fit into that.
Yeah, I also think it was maybe the stereotype and of like the actual way we were as a band as well, not just in the music we were making, but I think along with that kind of music, especially in like the Yorkshire scene, it was a really hostile, like gigs and stuff. Not as a listener, but as a band, it was quite a hostile environment. Like
again, completely male dominated when we started.
And the bands, you know, every it was almost like every band for themselves. Like you're trying to fight to be the coolest band, and if you're headlining, you don't care about the support act or whatever. You just want to get trashed and look really cool, and it's just all. It was quite a toxic environment, not just because of like obviously like the lyrics and the music itself, but actually as like people, it was quite a toxic environment to be in, because it was like, oh, am I not cool enough? Is my music not like, do I not seem like hard enough in my music?
I think and that sort of, I think bands made in that sort of mold, it sort of perpetuates that thing we were talking about, like huge egos. To feel like you have to have this huge ego to, I don't know, to for your music to impact an audience or anything like that. But I think it's always been much more effective to sort of show vulnerability, or not being perfect, or not being.
And it's just nice to be nice to people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nice to if you've got a support act and stuff, and like it's nice to speak to people and be nice. And I don't think that was really there. It was more like, don't speak to me, because speaking somehow will make me look uncool.
It's such a horrible culture of a creative industry. And I remember when we did our So Far Leads gig together, and I remember watching you play, and I remember thinking like, I don't even know if I should go and say hi to those guys. Like they're cool. They've got their thing going on. And I felt like that you would be like quite untouchable in that way, because that's been my experience growing up as like a folk singer-songwriter girl with her guitar, and like being when I leave that very comfortable environment of mine and singing around the campfire and going into environments where I'm interacting with people from different genres and things like that, I have felt that very that block of like, we're cool, you're doing your little thing, and I was nervous when I saw you guys play. And then something that struck me and Poppy so much, and why we've continued to listen to your music and we've continued to follow your journey, and why we wanted to talk to you today, is that you were so like approachable and so easy to chat to. And for me as a woman and a folk artist, I don't think that I had that experience with an all-male band, like a more indie band before. And that really left an impression on me. And I think that you guys, I'm just really, really happy to hear what you're saying, and that, you're like really intentional about that. That's just awesome.
Yeah, I really resonate with everything you said there, Brie, and I just think having this conversation with you guys today, it's so refreshing to have your opinion and your side of it from a male band point of view, and realize that not everyone is this toxic, I'm cooler than you and I'm awesome kind of thing. Like, I think it's so much more important for the music community as a whole for everyone to just be nice and get along, like, because I mean, like, this year, for example, like, the music industry has gone, like, everyone's on the same page again. It's like we need to support each other and be there for each other and build a community and build a space for everyone to have a platform, and for everyone to have a go and to have an opportunity. And I think it's really awesome what you guys are doing.
Well, absolutely. I think as well, you made a really good point then, is that the sort of reset button has been hit. And unfortunately, a lot of governments have made it very clear that it's very much, we're on our own. So, I think that's a really important thing for us all to stick together. And ultimately, inclusivity has to prevail, I think.
Definitely.
And I think that's beneficial for every music community. To have that sort of level of involvement requires a certain level of inclusivity, and I don't know, just like you say, just being nice, approachable, because it's a really nice thing that you said, but it's also quite bittersweet, because if you say that was the first time you had that sort of involvement with an all-male band, then clearly we are nowhere near where we need to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are the images that we're shown. Like, these are the, you know, to be in a band, you need to be like this, and this. You need to be an alcoholic, borderline. Don't get me wrong. We like a drink before the show as much as the next guy
or girl.
But we like, do you know what I mean? It's not, if you're showing these images, I think from a male perspective, if you're showing these images of these like hyper egotistical men who are like sort of, and they're sort of lifted up culturally as like these gods, these like untouchable people.
Yeah, so successful.
Yeah, and that's your only way to be successful in the music industry, is to be like this. I just think it had a pretty damaging effect.
Can I ask you guys whether that's been like I don't know, whether you've had to kind of fight that identity that society kind of wants to hand to you, and if you've had to really decide like, no, that's not what I want to be, and whether that journey has been quite difficult for you, and if you've found that it's been isolating, if you're surrounded by other musicians in your scene, or if you've found it to be quite liberating. Like, what's your journey been like of kind of actively choosing that you want to set a different path for yourself?
I think it's been great. I mean, one of our most successful songs we did with a Sheffield band called Before Breakfast, I believe is now. Yeah, so we did this song with Before Breakfast, and it's always a song people gravitate to the most, and it just completely changes the whole sort of dynamic of like collaborating with artists, and it just gives our music a different sort of angle, and it's something that we always want to do. And I think to have a female representation in our music, and that doesn't apply to just the music, like using the creativity, like I'm talking like artwork, photography, you know, it's something that we're very passionate into, like to sort of on the theme of inclusivity, to not have, you know, because we're aware, like we're four white males at the end of the day, and our producer, bless him, David Glover, is also male, and it's just, you know, it's so starkly apparent that it's not a balanced community. It's not a and so I don't know, like, how do you change that as you know, as four males in a band? And I think the only answer for us is to collaborate as much as we can.
And it's gone beyond correction. I try to run in the opposite direction. It must be in my physiology. You're just just magnetic to me.
Yeah, and I think it was quite like going back to your question. I think it was quite like liberating. Sounds like too much of a positive word, but I think it was liberating in the sense of like we all had each other, so it was quite easy for us to say, yeah, no, actually, I will say easy. I think it was quite easy for us to kind of not have to go by the stereotype. But I think it's because we all have like a mutual view and respect for this same views, whether that's like political views or views on feminism, etc. So I think we were all like united in a very similar left-wing view, I suppose, of well, I say left-wing, it's just a correct view. It's just being a nice, normal human being, in my personal opinion. But yeah, and I think it was kind of, we were just surrounded by. So I think it was easy for us as 4 white males to kind of push off and shrug off the people in the industry or in the music scene that we didn't agree with, because we were kind of like together, and the people we were surrounding ourselves with also had similar views, and collaborating with female artists, and just trying to stay away from that sort of that side of the scene, especially in Sheffield. I think it was kind of like liberating, because I think we've had a totally different experience now since maybe being more of an established band and not having to take like every gig that gets offered you in like a horrible male-dominated pub where you're going to get heckled for dressing smartly, or
Pay for your tickets. When you got to pay for your tickets.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah.
When you become an artist and like a bar rep at the same time.
I wonder who came up with that idea, because I mean, it seems like, I don't know, you sat around a table and you're like, oh, right, so we've got this band playing, but we need to guarantee ourselves making money. And somebody just pipes up and says, I've got it. The band buy their own tickets.
It's such a genius idea, though, for a promoter.
And then we don't have to do anything.
The promoters sat there, they just make a Facebook page where they'll invite the band to it, and then the band can invite all their friends to the Facebook page. All you've done is gone on Paint or something and just copied and pasted the band's logo.
What happened to the job role of promoter?
Of being a promoter and going out and seeking people. Like, that's such an annoying part of the, like, it's the only, for me, it's the only job where like starting out is like actually way harder than maybe being established, which I know obviously is quite maybe a narrow-minded thing to say, but I mean in the sense of like when you're starting, it's not like in any other industry where maybe when like starting being like the coffee runner and it's really difficult and you're doing those hours and you're like under everybody, and then you slowly work yourself up to being a manager and blah 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 in any industry. But for me, like music is like you start with all this responsibility and you're like, oh my god, I've got to sell tickets, I've got to do this, like, I'm getting no money. Once we got paid, we sold a few tickets for a gig, and the promoter was all like sweetness and light. She was like, yeah, blah, do this and sell these, and then you can get like a cut of the tickets. And it seemed like really legit and professional. And she was like, you get 20% of every ticket sold, blah, blah. And we were like, oh, cool. Not really thinking about it or like working out what we got. I can't remember exactly how many tickets we sold or like what the price was, but they were probably like £5, £6. And she like divvied it off, and she was like, the promoter was like downstairs for a bit, like when we arrived with all our gear to do sound check. And she was like, oh, have you got the ticket money, blah, blah, all this. And we like exchanged the tickets we hadn't sold. And she gave us our money back in an envelope that said OPAFA. And I think, if I remember correctly, Jack might remember differently, but I think there was £4.80 in there.
It was the worst, because we couldn't actually, because it was sold out. So we couldn't actually sell any tickets. So it could only sell like 5 tickets because it was sold out.
We got £4.80 for a sold out show.
Yeah, it's so exploitive. Wait, what's the word? Exploitative. Thank
Feels
you.
like there's too many T's in there.
Exploitative. But because it's 100% aimed at like bright-eyed young musicians who just want to play a show, and they'll do and they'll do whatever it takes to play a show, and they think that's what they have to do.
It's so stressful. Like I remember. I mean, like, I'm sure we all have similar experiences, but being like 16, 17 and having like a job but it was in like hospitality, and really having to like message like 20 people to see if I could like swap a shift and be like, oh, I'll work extra the next day so that I can have this evening off to play, and then like manage to get off at like 4 and then get these tickets and then have to like call everyone. And I remember going around. I remember having to borrow a bike off a friend because I was like, I've got like 18 tickets to like sell. And it was like the night of the gig. And it was all people from school and stuff that they said they would. And I was just like a postman, just cycling around Sheffield, dropping these tickets off, getting the money, or people being like, oh, if I give you this now, I transfer you the money and you got to take £10 and all this like confusing stuff. And then getting to the gig and like doing line check, and then also like being denied like guest lists, and then like countless times I've had to like pay. I've had to be like, oh, I promised my mom guest list, so I would pay for the ticket myself, or like pay for 2 or 3 tickets.
Sweetheart,
Pardon?
you're lovely.
That's gonna go in the Love Lane WhatsApp group later.
I'm typing it as we speak.
The funny thing is, he actually cut out. So the reason I stopped and went, "You what?" It's because I thought he said, he was like, "Oh, shut up, man." It's definitely something that needs to change, because then like you get to the gig and you play it and we will have all done it, and it's such a stressful experience because like you sit down at your instrument or whatever, just getting ready to play, and you're like, oh, this is the first time I sat down since like I got up this morning.
That's why Poppy and we took a lot of that into our own hands over the last few years of just going, we can't even deal with like that side of booking gigs. Like, let's just message our friends and book living room concerts so that we don't have to be robbed of time and money and actually enjoy the experience. And I'm so glad we did that. But
Same.
Yeah,
I think that's the way forward. I think you're completely doing the right thing. I think just sort of even as simple as changing the perspective of what a venue can be.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, there's going to be there's going to be all these bands that are desperate to play a show, and the venues are going to be booked out.
Yeah, what venues that are left? So many have had to close because of COVID, which is just heartbreaking.
So it's scary times ahead, but I don't know. We'll stick together. We'll get through it, I'm sure.
I think that's exciting because I think for so long, because of the way the industry's been set up, and because musicians have wanted to focus solely on creating music, and they've been happy to kind of accept the opportunities that people offer them. I feel like it's an exciting time for musicians to be like taking a bit of that power back for themselves, to be able to figure out how they want to tour and how we want to collaborate with other artists to release music and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that's really exciting, that we can take a bit of that power back and do it a bit more DIY.
Everyone loves those kind of DIY events as well. Like if you go to any city, like they're not as obvious to find, and sometimes it's like you have to kind of get it from like getting to know certain people and stuff, and then you find out there's some sort of DIY gig or event space that's in an old wool factory or something like that. And they're always the best kind of events because they're filled with people that want to be there, and you're not being ripped off, and it's not just a ploy to get people in to buy overpriced Red Stripe. Like it's people that want like to be there and to
to support
like put money towards the exactly.
to support live music.
How have you guys managed during COVID as a band? You're kind of in different parts of the countryside, in different countries. As a band, how are you kind of maintaining momentum? How are you continuing to build your audience? Maybe do you have advice for other bands who are kind of like, what do I do right now?
But we've been quite lucky in the way that we had our long-time producer, David Glover. If you're listening, Glover, we love you. We glove you. Sorry.
You're turning into a glivering fool.
I know, sorry. But yeah, we were lucky because during like the break in between lockdowns in the UK, we were able to get some time with him, and we managed to do a couple of songs. But as far as advice goes for like new people, I think any artist, you just need to grind. Like just keep sort of evaluate why you're making music, evaluate how it makes you feel, and then come to the decision whether it's something, if it's something you want to do, then just, there's no right answer, unfortunately. Otherwise, would be like U2 or something if we knew. Felix would have, I don't know, his own clove business, Honey Inc.
Oh, do you mean U2 is in the band U2?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I thought you were throwing shade at Brie and Poppy. That's why it went really southern. Because I was like, oh my god,
what a poor band choice! What a poor band choice to say in that moment. Anyway, but yeah,
we are the stereotype of a Yorkshire band. It's been a joke. It's a trick.
Yeah. But yeah, you just gotta, write.
Yeah.
Do Instagram Live gigs. Do whatever sort of any means to create. Because like you say, we're all in it together. We're all figuring it out. And just know that, wherever you are, there will be a community willing to support you.
Yeah, definitely. Don't let anyone take advantage of you either. That would be my main piece of advice. Whether that be a promoter or anything like that, or, I mean, not throwing shade on producers, but I think there's a lot of people out there who are happy to record, bright-eyed starting musicians that don't really know how much it costs and happy to put on an extra couple of £100 for a technical, using a technical excuse that someone might not understand and think, oh yeah, that's fine, that's cost an extra day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like the phalange. The phalange's broken.
The phalange broke.
I need to replace my phalange.
It's going to take 2 days, so I need $4,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for that, it's just gigging as much as possible. Make sure people can hear you. Get your social media all nice and neat, which sounds very, which sounds probably hilarious coming from me, because I'm absolutely horrendous at anything to do with social media or internet or anything like that.
Do you guys have any upcoming releases or anything that you want to talk about or plug?
Jack, take it away.
Well, lots of exciting things. Well, we've got, as I said before, we managed to get a little bit of time with in the studio, and we recorded 2 songs, one of which we released, Take What's Given. We released that one, but we've got one coming up, which we're quite excited about. And we've also managed to book some more time in the studio with the aim of doing an EP.
Ooh.
Hopefully all to be released this year, summertime-ish, by summertime, maybe like mid-late summer. So yeah, that's what we've got planned.
Yeah, what's new with you guys, music-wise?
Music-wise for me, I don't know. I think I kind of burnt out shortly after we saw you guys towards the end of the 2019. Sorry, we just we just did too much, me and Brie, and then I did even more like support shows and stuff. So I just really burnt myself out, and I've actually taken a step back from music being my job, which I kind of obviously had to with the lockdown. But now I have like a jewelry business, and I host online mindfulness workshops. And I've actually got a job interview tomorrow to work for the NHS. So kind of taken a bit of a turn.
Wow.
But yeah, I still
Hats off to you. That's
love
amazing.
music, and I want to consume it. I want to support it. Like the concerts that we did, like on our living room concert tours, I want to be that. I want to be someone where have a place where I can just invite artists and just create amazing nights. Like I want to be on that end of it now, and not so much on the writing and putting out music. That just, I don't know,
takes its toll.
Yeah, I think I had a bit of a toxic relationship with it at the end, because like I had so much of myself was in my music, and like my identity and my value and everything got all a bit wrapped up in it. So when I didn't have any like external achievements to like to go on, that I was I just kind of I broke basically. Had a big old burnout.
It can be so brutal like that, because I remember you playing at the So Far Sounds, and I remember you like saying all the things you've done.
We just did too much, man.
Oh my god,
which was great. Like I said, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. I had so much fun. But like I was getting my validation and my kicks from like my peers telling me, "Oh, you're doing so much, Poppy. You're doing amazing. You're doing all this," and that's where I got my value from. Realized that's not a good place to get your value from. It has to come from you, from within. And I just realized I wasn't really doing that in a healthy way. So took a step back.
Yeah, that's like if you don't mind, like that's something I'd like to just quickly talk about. That just made me think of how I think that's an important thing to make sure to say, to like counterbalance. Obviously, when you asked us like any advice or anything you'd say to like an artist or like coming out of lockdown and stuff, and obviously the first thing we went to was how, you know, to keep on gigging and like plugging away at it and blah blah blah. But I think it's also important to be mindful of, obviously we're surrounded by like artists and like musicians that we listen to. There's a lot of themes about them. Like if you watch any interviews with anyone, like from the top of my head, I can think of like Mac DeMarco or on Action Bronson's album I was listening to recently. There's like loads of bits or skits and stuff where they talk about how, oh, I've been working so motherfucking hard, man, and all this stuff, and about how like I don't know, I'm scared that with up and coming musicians, they might think that the only way to make it in the music industry, yeah, you do have to work hard, but they're just going to burn themselves out like all the time, and surrounded by this like negative reinforcement of, oh well, I'm not working hard enough. I think you're just surrounded by that all the time. Like on all, I mean, like a couple of albums I've listened to recently, they all have little egotistical bits where they're talking about how hard they work and stuff, like, which is amazing. I'm not throwing shade on that. That's amazing that people work so hard, but it can be negative to reinforce that to people that, oh, I've gigged 6 nights this week, but that's not hard enough. I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, I mean that's literally how I felt for so long. I was looking at months of my calendar, and I would have maybe 1 or 2 nights off, and I was still like, oh, how can I fill in those nights? You know, it got too much. But what we've definitely realized with this podcast, and especially over lockdown and talking with other small independent artists, like a lot of people are having these realizations that actually our mental health and looking after ourselves is equally as important as working hard and putting in the time and effort. And it's been really exciting for us to we're going through these, you know, individual journeys of like realization of and looking back and thinking that wasn't very healthy. Like, how can I change that in the future? And that so many artists actually are having those realizations for themselves as well.
I think
it's really reassuring.
Evaluating on why you're making music is really important. I think like for me anyway, it's where I get my enjoyment and why I can't really see myself stopping no matter of success is just writing. I think it's so healthy. It is for me anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is going to be some sort of backlash with mental health especially in insecure communities like the arts community. Yeah, just sort of look after yourself before anything else. Like look after your.
Yeah, and like on that, I do want to give a big shout out to Music Minds Matter, which is the best charity in the whole wide world. They're part of Help Musicians UK, and they offer a free 24-hour helpline for any musicians that are struggling with their mental health. And last year, when I was really struggling, I reached out to them, and I don't know what I would have done without them, because they offer free counselling, free therapy, and free just having somebody to talk to who's like not in your life as well, just having a chat with someone. I want to give them all my money. They're such an amazing charity.
How about you, Brie?
So I, for the last few years, I've just been doing my solo singer-songwriter project, which I've really enjoyed. But ever since coming to Europe, my goal has always been to find other people to work with, because I really need that collaboration. I really love to have more than my mind in the process. I just wanted to let that happen organically. I didn't want to have to kind of, I don't know, I didn't want to have to put ads in Craigslist for that. Like I wanted to meet someone organically and just like let it happen. And meeting Poppy was great. We didn't collaborate musically, but we really teamed up and helped each other. But then at the beginning of 2019, I met a guy from Canada called Dominic Frico, and we started just songwriting together, and it just started as a bit of fun. But he's also been a solo singer-songwriter for a long time and was in a band called the Folk Road Show for a few years. And we just really, really enjoyed writing together. So at the beginning of 2020, we launched the project and released a couple of singles. So the project is called Flora Falls, and it's just really nice. Like I'm just loving being able to write with someone and to have somebody on with me to like talk about what do we want to do, where do we want to go, how are we going to tackle social media, how are we going to tackle, maybe getting a bit of a team around us. So it's just a huge relief really to have a teammate. And I just feel like and what you said about collaboration is so true. Like it's just so nice to have another creative mind working with you, because the ideas are just so new and different. And after years of just kind of doing my own thing, I feel like I've learned so much by having somebody else to write with and to play with. So we've been a bit limited, of course, because of lockdown, but we're hoping we're releasing a couple more singles in the next few months, and then an EP in summer, hopefully.
Oh, amazing.
And we'll see. We're really just enjoying it. It's just a really nice partnership.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you say. I mean, at the end of the day, music is a way of, it's a language. It's like it sort of demands some sort of collaboration. And even like you say, when you two say you didn't collaborate musically, it's important that even if for like solo artists, to understand that you don't have to do things all by yourself. I think it's very beneficial to because collaboration doesn't even have to be you're both firing on all cylinders. It can just be like bouncing ideas off somebody. Is so important. Get in touch with us if you want to collab. people of the world. Oh, just a sidebar. Is Flora Falls, is that a place in Australia? Because it sounds like it is.
It does sound like it. Hey, I never even thought.
No, I mean, it kind of, yeah. No, it was just a deep thought spiral of a lot of words.
A rather beautiful,
beautiful name, for sure.
Collection of and alliteration. Felix, I bet that bowled you over.
That's already on my name list.
Falls Flora.
I gave it to Brie. Did you not say? I wanted to do a solo project called Scrambled Legs, and the debut album was going to be called Beans Knees.
That's so bad.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
If you'd like to be a part of the artwork conversation, we would love to invite you to join our Artwork Community Facebook group, where you can connect with the artists we've featured on the podcast and share your journey with a like-minded community. You can find the link in the show notes, as well as all the links to today's artist.
If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would take the time to subscribe to and review it so that more people can find us in the future. Your comments can help us pop up on more people's suggested podcasts, helping our artists' stories reach a wider audience.
Podcasts are best spread by word of mouth, so if you know people who might enjoy this episode or the Artwork podcast as a whole, we would love it if you told them all about it. And if you'd like to financially support this project, you can now do that on Patreon, where you can choose the amount you'd like to give us for lots of fun rewards.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at art.workconversation.
And tune in next week for another inspiring episode. Bye!
Bye!
I tried to get into shape the other day, and I thought, right, fitness regime, let's do it. So yesterday I started doing some press-ups, and on the second press-up, I put my shoulder out.
Oh no.
It's totally gone. I can't lift my arm up like higher than my breast.
Oh my God.
Breast area. So
Oh no!
so I was like, well, that is just great. That's a sign. My body's just got so weak over lockdown.
Wake up feeling heavy. Bite my apple, sink my coffee. Killing time, well, that's my favorite pastime. Lose the inches from my hairline, just like I'm rolling dice. Past life, ain't that right? I will take what I'm given. Simplistic way of living. Yeah, I take just what I'm given. 2 hands and a heart that's beating. Responsibility weighs heavy, and it's in my nature to be messy. Washing up just makes me think of all the things that I forgot to do today. Maybe I'd be clean if I had someone to care for, to be there for, be aware for. Lately I'm losing vanity, trading my looks for clarity. But I take just what I'm given and do my best to change my linen. I will take what I'm given. Bohemian way of living. Yeah, I take just what I'm given give all that I